The Wild West was not born evil, but it learned quickly. It learned when the first railroad cut through sacred land, when the first town rose overnight with a saloon before a church, and when blood soaked into the dust so deep that even rain could not wash it away. By the time the sun rose over Blackstone Valley, the land itself seemed tired of watching men kill each other for gold, pride and power. Smoke drifted low through the streets that morning, not from chimneys but from gunfire, and the bodies lying near the well were already being ignored, as if death had become part of the scenery. In this burning chaos stood a town ruled not by law, but by fear, fear of a man named Caldwell Kane. Caldwell Kane did not wear a badge, yet every man with one answered to him. He owned the bank, the sheriff, the gallows, and most of the graves. His smile was calm, practiced, and cruel, the kind that promised suffering without ever raising its voice. When Kane wanted something, towns disappeared, families vanished in the night, and when someone dared to stand against him, their blood was poured into the dirt as a lesson. On this morning, Kane stood on the balcony of his office, watching his men drag a wounded rancher through the street. The man's crime was simple. He refused to sell his land. Kane watched without emotion, because mercy had never earned him power. But somewhere beyond the valley, a rider was coming. The outlaw's name had once been spoken with respect, then fear, then regret. Some said he was dead. Others said he'd sold his soul and walked into hell willingly. His real name no longer mattered. In the West, he was known only as Ash Carter, a man who left burning towns behind him and unanswered questions in his wake. Ash rode alone, his coat torn, his face carved by years of violence and loss. He had buried more people than he remembered, including the woman who once begged him to stop running. He had promised her he would change. He had lied. Ash reined his horse at the edge of Blackstone Valley and stared down at the town. He could feel it, the wrongness, the tension in the air, the way even the wind seemed afraid to move. This place was already dying. The smart choice would have been to ride on, disappear like he always did. But then he saw the rancher dragged past the well, heard the crack of Kane's laughter echo across the street, and something old and dangerous woke up inside him. Ash did not believe in redemption, but he did believe in endings. He rode into town at noon. Every eye followed him. The saloon went silent. Hands hovered near holsters. Kane's men recognized the walk, the calm, the way Ash's fingers never strayed far from his gun. Whispers spread like wildfire. Kane stepped back into the shadows, smiling. He knew this kind of man, broken, violent, useful. Ash dismounted slowly, dust clinging to his boots, and looked around as if measuring how much blood this town would cost him. He walked into the saloon, ordered whiskey, and drank, like a man who had already accepted his fate. That night, 3 of Kane's men lay dead behind the stables. By morning, Blackstone Valley knew something had changed. Ash stood between chaos and damnation now, whether he wanted to or not. Caldwell Kane did not panic. He never did. Panic was for men who feared death, and Kane had learned long ago how to live with it circling him like a vulture. Instead, he studied Ash Carter the way a butcher studies a knife, respecting its sharpness while planning how to use it. Kane sent an invitation, delivered by a trembling deputy. Dinner at sunset, no guns, no tricks. Ash almost laughed, almost. He went anyway, because he knew this story could only end one way. They met in Kane's office, oil lamps casting long shadows, across the walls lined with wanted posters, and deeds signed in blood. Kane spoke softly, offering gold, protection, even forgiveness. He said the West needed men like Ash, men willing to do what lawmen pretended not to see. Ash listened, eyes cold, remembering a woman bleeding in his arms years ago after. Kane's men rode through her town. When Kane finally finished, Ash stood, leaned forward, and told him the truth. He wasn't there for gold. He wasn't there for power. He was there because some fires only went out after everything burned. The war began that night. Gunfire ripped through Blackstone Valley as Kane unleashed every hired killer he owned. Houses burned. The sky glowed red. Innocents ran screaming, while the strong hid and the cruel hunted. Ash moved through the chaos like a ghost, every bullet finding its mark, every step paid for by memory and rage. He freed prisoners from Kane's jail, armed desperate men, and turned the town into a battlefield Kane could no longer control. By dawn, the valley reeked of smoke and death. The final showdown came at the gallows. Kane stood waiting, shotgun in hand. The law finally gone, the monster fully exposed. He mocked Ash, told him the West would always belong to men like them. Ash didn't argue. When the guns fired, the sound echoed across the valley like judgment. Kane fell into the dust he had poisoned, eyes wide with disbelief. For the first time, fear found him. As the sun rose, Ash stood alone. The town was ruined but free. People watched him from doorways, unsure whether to thank him or fear him. Ash mounted his horse without a word. He had never wanted to be a hero. He was just a man who refused to let hell rule unchallenged. He rode out as the smoke cleared, leaving behind a legend the West would never forget.